Hello, Coffee Chat friends. Steve here again with a little few thoughts anyways on how to facilitate a coffee chat. Now, somebody has asked me about this and I thought I'd put it out there for anybody who would want to host an event and might like a few of my thoughts on what I've learned and seen that's kind of worked for me throughout these few years. So basically what I do is, well, put the word out, get some people there kind of thing. But to start the event, what I've basically done, because there's normally a few people there who are not familiar with what's going on, so to kind of put everybody's mind at ease and to give a little indication as to what this is about, I kind of go through something along the lines of this. A couple of points basically. First one is, what is this? Well, I usually say it's coffee chat. It's like a discussion forum. And the idea is that, my idea originally was that it's promoting friendship or brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever it is, through sharing ideas on improving the quality of our life experience. That's kind of the overall gist of it, if you want, if you will, the vision of it kind of thing. Now the intention in the meeting is to promote this idea, to follow a topic typically, but to share ideas, not so much to debate. I mean, we sort of go into that once in a while, but the thing about debating is because very often there's some people who haven't ever been there before. Debating can be kind of like, can come across sometimes as what you're saying I think is wrong, and therefore what I'm saying is right, and it can kind of drive a wedge between us. So the idea is to share ideas. Like we might not agree with them, but we can listen to what the other guy is saying. They're having some input and might disagree with it, but that's okay because it might actually be right for them. So in the meetings, generally speaking, I found it to work better to have it as a sharing of ideas, and usually it's only an hour and a half formal meeting anyway. So to get into a big debate, it is usually occupied by several people, so it kind of monopolizes it, and it can create kind of a wedge. So there's time for that, perhaps afterwards, when people can pair up and after the meeting, after the formal setting of the meeting, and have those debates and presentation of argument and such like that, right? Now how we do this basically is, okay, the overall banner of improving the quality of your life experience, but then having typically a topic to speak on, which kind of guides our discussion for the evening. Now, it could be any topic. From my experience, any topic that, when talked about in a constructive way, can help. We can get ideas from others on how other people improve their quality of their life in that respect. It could be about health, it could be about relationships, it could be about the way we get along in communities. For example, this one that's coming up fairly soon is called Faith versus Reason and Evidence, because there's a lot of people who have faith-based ways of interpreting life and so on. Other people want to put everything through reason and evidence. So do they go together and so on, and how we can reconcile the two if we can. So there's lots of input that we can get from people, but it helps to guide our discussion with the overall idea of having this be a positive, constructive experience for all of us, and with the intention of finding out little things and sharing ideas on improving the quality of our life experience. That's kind of a build-up experience, right? It's also an opportunity, and I usually mention this at the beginning, for announcements, because people have things that they're doing. Like I used to be involved and still am in Toastmasters. I think Toastmasters is a great experience to more than just talk about what we're doing, but actually challenge ourselves with building ourselves up in some way. So I would often announce that I go to Toastmasters, and if you want to come along, you can come along. But people, have read a recent book, they've watched a movie which was interesting, they heard a talk from somebody, they watched a certain YouTube video, whatever. So it's an opportunity for people to share that as well, that's going on in their life. Now, what it's not, I usually point this out too, is Coffee Chat was never intended to be a sales pitch or an attempt to convert anybody to anything. I've had lots of people ask me, look, what are you trying to, put over on me here? What are you trying to sell me? What are you trying to convert me to? Well, it's never been that. It's more intended to be like a group of friends sitting down and having a meaningful chat about something that's valuable to them. That's about it. Now, how it goes, so that's kind of the intro, but that's a little bit elongated. It doesn't have to be that long, but along that lines, to let everybody know what it's about, right? And then the procedure we usually do is, let's say there's half a dozen or 10 people sitting at a table. And a lot of people don't know each other. It's an opportunity, and perfectly voluntary. That's the other point I like to make too, is nobody has to contribute. People can just listen in, they're free to listen in. Don't even have to say their name if they don't want to. There's no membership joining procedure or anything. It's just come down and sit with us, have a coffee or tea or whatever you want, and let's have an evening of sharing. That's it. So what we start off with the sharing is sharing your name, if you want. My name is so-and-so, and also what we do then is we have typically several minutes for each individual to give a few comments on what they think of the topic. Like the topic that we have coming up is faith versus reason and evidence. So, what people think about faith, the value of faith, the value of reason and evidence. Do they go together? Are they actually verses? Are they complementary? And so some people can say, faith is this to me, reason and evidence is this to me, my name is so-and-so. And then we go around. So it sort of breaks the ice for the evening. And it also, during that time, try not to have crosstalk at that time. It's let each person have their turn. And then people can take little notes if they have a comment that they heard something that they want to address later. And once that round is complete, then we can begin a moderated discussion, which is somebody who's ever hosting it to be mindful of what's going on, to try to give everybody the opportunity to have more input, and to try to be, some people forget, everybody's got different personalities. Some people are very much fly on the wall. They have a lot to say, but they don't want to just break in. And sometimes as a moderator, if we watch for people for cues, they might just put their hand up a little bit and they take it down because somebody else started talking. So if somebody is very much more gregarious and is talking and talking and talking, at a certain point when there's a break, as a moderator, you can say, I think you wanted to say something, didn't you? Like point over to the person who might have just put up their hand like this. And it gives them the chance to come in. Because like I say, different people approach these sorts of things differently. So, and the rest of the evening just goes like that. You go with the flow. And also, another thing to watch for is the tendency for the discussion to go down what I call rabbit trails. So if the discussion is about faith versus reason and evidence, and all of a sudden somebody's talking about their, how their car gets better mileage with this product in it or something like that, all of a sudden it becomes pretty obvious that we've gotten off track. And the attempt is to bring it back on track. And what I have found works is not to try to stop that discussion, but just to chime in at a certain point and say something like this. Now we're talking about the car engine and how it gets better mileage. Would this be a faith issue or a reason and evidence issue? You see, it's a comment on the rabbit trail, because everything is related. If we really think, there's always a way to try to segue back into our discussion. So if somebody has brought us off the trail of our discussion, and we're down here in this valley and talking about the fuel efficiency of car engines, and a comment can be made about, is that, do you have a lot of faith in that assertion that you're making, or is that a reason and evidence assertion? And then everybody gets, oh yeah, right. we're talking about faith versus reason and evidence, and it's very polite, and people are very open to just moving back into the discussion, because everybody sort of understood that at the beginning. We're going to do our best to stay on the topic if we can. The coffee chats, because we have not taken a break during the middle, and I found that if you go much more past an hour and a half, people start to get a little bit sleepy and so on, especially if they had a dessert or a meal or something like this. So we've always kept it to an hour and a half, the actual official meeting. But what you'll find is that people will hang around for longer periods of time. And, you know, upwards of sometimes several hours afterwards. And so if there was a dozen people there, maybe 6 of them will go. And then there'll be, you know, half a dozen people who will sit around and pair off and have a more in-depth discussion, maybe a debate, maybe a presentation of arguments along the lines of what they wanted to present, and this sort of thing. It becomes, and friendships develop from that. People really want to come back. Yeah, so that's what I would say is along the lines, is try to have an intro. You know, get the people there, of course, first, and I can help with that as well if you have any comments or any questions. Get the people there, and about it, when you're going to start, you know, just say something like, you know, welcome to Coffee Chat, and give a little intro as to what Coffee Chat is, the intention of it, how it actually works by following a topic, that it's an opportunity for announcements to make, and if you have any announcements to make, what it's not also, it's not a sales pitch or an attempt to convert, and then go around the room with introductions and comments on the topic, and then moderate a discussion on the topic. Pretty much all there is to it. I hope you enjoy that, and I hope to be at one of your events one day when you are moderating. Or rather than moderating, let's say facilitating. Facilitating, making it easy, right? Facile, to make things easy. When you're facilitating, I hope to be at one of your events. Talk to you soon. My name is Steve.